Good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon, sir. I am Dr.
Yes,
Rupesh
good
Shoni
afternoon.
speaking from Nata College of Pharmacy. Today is our part of our webinar series. Our guest speaker is Dr. Nilesh Jain, founder and chief trainer, Knowledge Shape He is a pharma professional with more than 12 years of experience in diverse fields, including marketing, teaching, corporate. He has more than 7 years of experience in clinical research, scientific writing, to be precise. He has worked with Novartis for more than 5 years. Academically, he has done PhD in pharmaceutical science and he is recipient of National Doctoral Fellowship. He has been in various countries including USA, Malaysia, Thailand, Germany, and Switzerland. He has attended many national and international conferences and presented his scientific field here. He has more than 15 publications in reputed journals. Realizing the gap between students' understanding and quality education, he has started an institute named Knowledge Shapers with the aim to impart English communication skills. Also, he is a co-founder of Clinical Orbit, first of its kind of institute inside the Madhya Pradesh with a vision to provide training in the field of clinical research. I welcome Dr. Nilesh Jain from the side of BR Nata College of Pharmacy and Mysore University. Welcome, sir. Please, sir, to provide the knowledge for our students and their clinical field and their placements. Thank you, sir. Welcome, please.
So thank you so much, Rupesh sir, for my warm introduction. So before we start anything, that I would like to thank Amit sir for this wonderful webinar series and for giving me an opportunity to share my knowledge and experiences with all of you. So many of you may not aware that Amit sir has been a teacher during my B Form and my senior during M Form and PhD, and he knows my journey, better so far. So again, thank you so much, sir, for your blessing and support. And so, very good afternoon to all respected faculty members and my dear students. I hope that these and all previous sessions will be beneficial for you in terms of knowledge and skill sets and will definitely help you to understand multi-dimensional picture of this pharmacy field. And as this is afternoon time, and luckily I'm familiar with the sleeping habit, okay, after having lunch. So don't worry about this. So as a caution, I will keep my presentation very short, crisp, and to the point, okay. And but I would request all the participants to be engaged as much as they can and active, so that you can understand more about this field and know how it can work for you, okay. And also it would be really great if you can hold your questions till the end of your session. So I will take it at the end of the session. So is it fine? I think. Okay. So shall I start? Okay. So today's topic is career opportunities in clinical research and scientific writing. Okay. So many of you just Rupesh sir has already introduced about myself that I have done MPharm and PhD and all this stuff. Okay, so this is I'm starting with this my presentation with this famous quote actually from Richard Branson. He says like if somebody offers you an amazing opportunity, but you are not sure you can do it, say yes. Then learn how to do it later. This is exactly what happened with me actually. So I never knew the opportunity which is coming on the way, and but luckily I said yes, and finally I got into that, and I'm here right now. Okay. So it is kind of I will start this presentation with some kind of brainstorming activity because it's very difficult to stay after having lunch. Okay. So definitely I would ask you to engage with this activity. So is ready with this. So I need only 3-digit number from your side. So you can tell me any 3-digit number. Like Amit sir, you can help me with this, or Rupesh sir, or any other participant. Hello, think so. I think we will go ahead with this. No problem. Okay, so many things have been talked about myself, like who am I and what I did actually. But it is something which is it is not clear in the the introduction that who am I exactly. Okay, so this is my small family. I have a wife and my kid, one son, okay, Bhavya, and I love skate acting. I love hiking. I am a math lover, and this is something I got through my performances. Okay, so before starting anything, so let me just tell you a brief story about this, about myself. So the first, I will tell you two stories which may you connect with your personal right now. Okay. So the first story is about the pharmacy. So why pharma? Why I got into that pharmacy field. So when be honest actually, so when I completed my 12th, so I have no idea what to do next. So but one of my close relatives, just came to home and just suggested my elder brother to why don't pharma. Okay, then we started searching and we look for this kind of thing. Okay, so luckily I got admission in Bianata College of Pharmacy, and I was very lucky enough to get into that because it is in fact it is one of the best institutes for pharmacy. But at that moment there were very few colleges, there were very few private colleges, and luckily I got admission there. But after completion B form, the next question was what to do next. Then luckily I was gate qualified. I got an admission in Dr. H.S. Gore University, and I did my masters. And after completing masters, there was again question aroused in my mind like what to do next. So again, some people suggested me to do further study. So okay, I listened to them. I just finally enrolled for PhD. So that was the journey I just went through. So I did PhD and I did many things at the same time. Like I was looking for some kind of job, and okay, so I got support from all the teachers, including from my mentor, Singhai sir, Dikshit sir, Vyas sir, Sanjay sir, Kohli sir, and all supported me very well. But when I completed my PhD, I had in fact no clue where to go, what to do next. So I asked my seniors, so what should I do? Okay. So they said, okay, they can go for production, R&D, or teaching. So these are the fields that you can explore further. Okay, I said okay. But luckily, I got a call from Hyderabad from one of the organizations, and they just called me. They just explained me the job description. I said yes, okay, I'm willing to do, because I said yes, okay. So I joined there, and it completely changed my way of thinking. So that is something that is a story about the pharmacy. The second story was about the communication skill and technical and theoretical knowledge. Okay. So why I included this story, because it is very very critical to know why it is important for you, okay, and how it can be useful for all of us that who are sitting here, okay. So when I entered to the corporate, so there was a one question. My communication skill was not good at all. Okay. So when I joined the first organization, it was G1 Scientific Technology. My communication skill was okay, okay. I was not fluent, but I had a theoretical knowledge, technical knowledge, how to do it. But due to communication skills, I was looking for something else. Okay. So that's why I started improving myself. I started work on a communication skill. So later on, I realized, okay, so communication skill plays a very, very crucial role when you are looking for growth, especially when you are in corporate culture. So communication skill has more weightage than technical or theoretical knowledge. So that's why I worked so hard for this particular school and I developed it. Okay. So if you ask me what kind of skills required for the professional growth once when you are into that corporate field, okay, so I would say two skills are really important for you. The first one is communication skill, and the second one is soft skill. So I am telling based on my more than 12 years of experience. I am telling this because I have a huge experience right now, and I can say rigidly that these are two communication which are very very crucial for your professional growth. Okay, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to achieve, these two skills are really really crucial for you. Okay. So now you would have seen this, slide or the kind of scope of the pharmacy. You are familiar with all those things. कि pharmacy के बाद किस में जा सकते हैं. So there are many fields, right? You can join as a pharmacist to practical setting. When we talk about practical setting, you can go for community, hospital, clinical, and other settings as well, like academics, in teaching, research, regulatory, and for industry per se. When we look out, so the perspective is you can go to production, quality assurance, research and development, quality control, and all other things are open right now. But I would say the one field which is very, very less explored right now, because I haven't seen many people in this field, especially from MP region, okay, and especially from our colleges, our pharmacy colleges. I haven't seen many students who are into clinical research, okay. And in fact, when I was in Novartis, I could identify very few of them, like for MP region. Okay, so clinical research is something very less explored field. I would not say unexplored, but it is a very less explored field. And the reason why I will explain in the next slides. But it is really a less explored field. Okay, and that's why we should look for this clinical research. Now you will ask, like, what is clinical research? So clinical research, basically, it is a branch of healthcare science that determines the safety and effectiveness of any medications, devices, diagnostic products, or treatment regimens intended for the human use. Okay. So in simple words, if we define what is clinical research, so clinical research is basically investigation of a particular molecule to be developed on the human beings. Okay, it is a clinical trial. So it is testing of the investigational drugs on human beings, and it is considered as a mainstay from bringing out the new molecules to the market. So in the upcoming slide, I will explain that how the drug discovery happens and how we go about this. Okay, but today's our main focus will be, I will just try my best to keep you, aware of this, what is clinical research and what kind of dimensional fields that you can attach with the clinical research, where you can go, what you can look for, what kind of skills, if you want to move in the clinical research, what kind of skills that you can develop within yourself. Okay. So clinical trials is conducted into 4 phases. So starts with the phase 1, then 2, then 3, and the 4. Okay. So I will explain that from the individual phase wise. It takes approximate 10 to 12 years and approximate $800 million investment for a single molecule to come into the market. So it's it in terms of money and in terms of time effort, it takes for the both perspective. Okay, and that's why. And the successful ratio is, according to an estimate, for every 10,000 to 30,000 drug molecules to be tested or screened, only one molecule reaches to the market. Now you can imagine the success ratio of that, how they, when you compare the time and money effort, the investment effort are very, very huge. But when look at the outcomes, it's very low, right? So when we compare the success ratio, it's very less. Okay, and that's the reason that they just go for the patent things and they just leverage the benefits of the 5 years of patent. Okay. Now, why we should look for the clinical research ideally? Okay, so as I explained, the clinical research is a study, of investigational product on human beings. Okay, and when you look at the clinical research market, so now see here, please be attention here. Like when you look at the market perspective, so 6% CAGR is estimated in every year. Okay, so for example, when you compare this, it is the 2018 and it is the 2023. So when in 2018 the investment amount, the incremental growth is estimated is $30 billion, but when you go with the 2013, So definitely it's just a double investment you can expect with the clinical research. And that is the reason that why you should look for the opportunities with the clinical research. It's absolutely very clear indication that if it is a new window for growth, so definitely clinical research is one of them. It has a multiple opportunities available, but you need to first recognize them. You have to be very well equipped with the kind of techniques or the abilities with them, so definitely you can enter this segment. In fact, in 2019, the overall growth was estimated that's 5.14%, and it was huge compared to the other segments, other pharmacy like domains like the R&D or production. So the comparatively, this particular clinical research segment has a very important role while looking at the growth perspective. Okay, so there are other regions as well. Now look at the growth perspective of the CROs. So basically we understand what is CRO actually, okay? So a CRO is clinical research organization, okay? Yeah, it may be a contract research organizations, okay? So these are the organizations which offer services for the clinical trials. Be it be sampling, be it be patient handling, be it be scientific writing or medical writing or medical coding. So it offers basically services to the big players. Big players, I mean like big companies who don't want to establish, who didn't establish their own this kind of facilities. So they definitely they look for the CROs. So CROs just offer their services. Okay. So in CROs they will have the all in-house facilities to conduct the clinical trials and all kinds of facilities. So for the growth. Okay, so when you look at the markets in North America is a big player as of now, but when you look at the Asia Pacific, so India is emerging is one of the biggest player in this segment. Okay, so when you look at the growth perspective, how the CROs service market is growing up, so you can see here in 2018, the growth market was more than $39,000. Okay, but when you look at the 2026, so it is expected to be increased by more than 91,000, approximate 91,000 is expected. Now you can see clinical research industry is booming and the CROs are booming. Definitely there is a growth perspective with this field. So definitely we can expect the more employability with this segment and more growth opportunities. And that's the reason that why we should be very careful with this field. And look at here. It is a very clear picture. So when you look at this, so CRO, like clinical field just makes up the 66.9% compared to discovery or preclinical assessment and laboratory services. Now you can imagine that how the clinical research is very important for us and why we should understand, okay, this segment right now. So now let's come to the how the drug discovery happens and how the development happens. So I think you might be aware with this process. First, we select the target and the target validation and the drug and lead optimization and the preclinical testing. If it is a pass through preclinical testing, so definitely we can go here, clinical testing. And it is how, and it is where I just wanted to target here. Okay. It clinical setting is just related with the clinical research. So ultimately, today's presentation, I will be trying my focus to keep on this. Okay. So as I told you, clinical research has 4 different phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. So it starts with the phase 1, in which 20 to 100 healthy volunteers participate. And ultimately, the purpose of this phase is to find out the safety and PKPD, okay, dynamic and dynamics, kinetic and dynamics of a particular drug molecule. And once the molecule is passed through, so we go to the second phase. So second phase is tested into 100 to 300 patients. And basically the purpose is to evaluate efficacy and safety. Okay. And once it is passed through, it just go to the phase 3, where drug molecule is tested in 300 to 3,000 patients. Okay. And basically the purpose is to evaluate, the objective here to evaluate the efficacy and safety again, but the broad population. Okay. And when the phase 3 is crossed, so all the data are submitted to the uh, regulatory authorities like US FDA or IWMA. So there are different authorities are there, European authorities. So they evaluate all each and every document, and once they feel okay, these all things are genuine and these all things are okay to go ahead, they give approval and just it enters to the phase 4. So phase 4 is nothing, it is a post-marketing surveillance. So it is basically testing of drugs in the real life situation. It means like once it is approved from the phase 3, so it goes to the market and we get the real life evidence and how it is doing in the real life situation, how the patients are feeling, they are feeling better or not, how many adverse events in the real life situation. So there is a fourth phase for condition. Okay, so I hope it is clear for you. So we have a four phases. Okay, now I said like clinical research is a less explored field. So why it is so? So there could be multiple reasons, but I would say, as per my experience, there are four different reasons. The first one is lack of awareness. It is very critical because many of them are not still aware. What is clinical research? How can I enter? What kind of skills are required to go into clinical research? So that's why I would say there's a lack of awareness about this field, and that's why that you should be equipped with the kind of skill set with this. Second important factor is knowledge. Okay, so many people are still aware, okay, this is the field where I want to go, but lack of knowledge is something just hampering them to go into that. Okay, next one is lack of soft skills. It is again a very critical parameter, and we many times ignore that. Soft skills are really really important for this. So I mean soft skills, it could be many things like your it could like related to computer efficiency. It could be your interpersonal communication or conversational skills. It could be multi-dimensional picture. Okay, so it could be multi-dimensional, but soft skill something is very important. The next one is lack of communication skill, and it is one of the most crucial factor why why many people don't get into that field. Okay, so as I talked about the clinical research, what is clinical research, how why we should look for in clinical research. So now let's understand what are the stakeholders in clinical research. So stakeholders, I mean there are many players. So I mean players means like different personals involved in the clinical research. Let's say the subject, then clinical research associate, then investigators, then CRO, as I told you, then sponsor, and then regulator. So there are different stakeholders are involved. So the purpose of this slide is like to show these are the stakeholders, but at the same time, these are our opportunities, right? Because every individual role defined here, mentioned here, has some specific roles and responsibilities. Okay, and as a pharmacy professional, we can grab these opportunities with this for every step, like medical director, or project manager, or CRA or regulatory personnel. So every segment is for opportunities for all of us. Now, scope in clinical research field. So why I'm insisting, why I'm trying to push the clinical research so much. So I would say there's a benefit with the pharma students when we compare with the science background students. I am not comparing at all, but I mean to say here is, all fields are open. Like when we go to the production, when we go to the R&D or any other, pharmacy field. So definitely you can get competitions, right, with the science background students. But try to understand clinical research is one of the very very I think specific field where you can get an job easily because of three main things, like the depth of knowledge, because we have already studied a lot of things, we have gone through the subjects which are beneficial, so in terms of knowledge we are okay. Okay, we have a clarity of subjects, so definitely somehow we have some advantage over the science background students here, and that's why that is the thing that you should keep in your mind. The second thing, these are the job opportunities available with the clinical research, as I told you, like clinical research associate, okay, the supply chain management, the pharmacovigilance and quality control, and medical writing. Today we are going to discuss more about this, and submission writing, and many more. So as I said, like clinical research is a multi-dimensional, things actually. So you can go in any direction, but important thing is once well you have to enter in that field. Okay, so and inside the definitely you can explore multiple things. It is not limited to this CR or supply chain. It is not limited to here. There are many more directions still. Okay, so today I'm just going to focus on medical writing because I have this is my domain area, and definitely I love to explain what is it exactly and what kind of skills that you can develop here. Okay, so what is medical writing basically? So medical writing is a very specialized science of communicating health and healthcare related information to various stakeholders. So I mean stakeholders I explained you. So there are different players or stakeholders involved in clinical research. So every step we have to serve. Okay, so that is the whole sole purpose of medical writing. So medical writing basically deals with the communication. Okay, and it is very critical for pharmaceutical or healthcare industry for approval, continuance, and promotion of their products. So medical writing we can categorize into two parts. Okay, the first one is regulatory documents, regulatory writing, and second one is scientific writing. So what is the difference between both? Okay, so regulatory writing is something very format driven. Format driven, I mean you will have one template to fill out, and once you fill the template, okay, so basically the regulatory writing is a piece of information which will be required for the regulatory authorities. जब हम फेज 3 के बाद में रेगुलेटरी अथॉरिटी को सबमिट करते हैं तब हमें जिन डॉक्यूमेंट्स की जरूरत पड़ती है, जिन डेटा की जरूरत पड़ती है, so definitely it is something related to regulatory writing. Okay, so it is more often format driven, and the requirement, the skill set and knowledge is required is pharmacological and drug development process. These are very crucial. You should be very knowledgeable with this process. So definitely you can look for regulatory writing. But when you look for the scientific writing, so it is a non-format driven, or I can say it is most a creative piece of work. Why creative? Because you have to be engaged with your creativity. If you are not creative at all in terms of writing, so this field is not for you. But if you are creative enough, if you have a willing to write, you are really passionate about writing, so definitely this particular segment is for you. Okay, and there are two skills are required for this. So sometimes other skills required for this. So again, it is a kind of is a repetition of the previous slide, but it just to give the in detail. Okay, so in medical writing, as I said, like in regulatory piece of writing, so these are the reports, aggregated reports or brochures or clinical study reports or doctor's letter, some essential document which are required for the regulatory authorities like protocol, investigator brochure, informed consent document, there's case report form, and all other stuff. Okay, these are materials. But when you look at the scientific writing piece, okay, so scientific writing involve the creativity. So it basically manuscripts or publications. In the upcoming slides, I will explain you what it means. Okay, let's jump into why scientific communication is really needed. Okay, so there's a very famous quote, when we talk about the publication or scientific research. Okay, so we do research, right? And we have a tendency, once we do research, we will have the data, and somehow we try to publish them in a reputed journals. So this is same thing, in clinical research. The big companies, just spend a lot of money to conduct a clinical research. They do a huge investment and time effort as well. Okay, and they get some results. But ultimately, their benefit with this data when they publish them, they present them into scientific community. Okay, so ultimately it gives the credibility of the data generated from the clinical research, and that is why it is very important is for. Okay, So there's very famous quote here: "The publish or perish." It means that you will do research. So either you can publish or you can keep your research finding aside. Okay, it is a waste of time. Okay, and but the question is where from do we get the research ideas? So research idea come from experiences, literature, and theory. Okay, so ultimate purpose of scientific communication is to put messages of scientific research into scientific community. Okay, it helps to spread the discoveries and inventions to a heterogeneous audience. Second, it spread awareness about the importance of science to a layman. Okay, and it normal individual can understand what was exactly done or what was the pattern of research. So whether it is a positive or negative finding, so scientific community just insist them to publish them. Okay, and you can get the critical inputs on the shortcomings in the study. So that is why the scientific communication is very, very critical. Now, what is scientific writing? So scientific writing is a very specialized field of writing scientific documents, publications. Okay, so these publications or these documents are very common, like abstracts, manuscripts, posters, product monograph, oral presentations, literature review, white paper. Then you will be thinking, like, why they are different. We do all these things in academic writing, so why it is so different in the clinical research? It is very natural question. Okay, so here my answer is scientific writing and academic writing is somehow same. We can superficially, when you look at, so it looks same, but when you look at in the deeper, it's much different. Okay, because in clinical research it is very well organized segment. Whether you have to deal with the foreign clients, whether you have to deal with the global clients, and engage each and every stakeholders involved in the clinical research, and that is a very challenging piece of this particular field. Okay, while academic writing, it is very easy to get consensus. Once we get the results, we just write the draft, we publish them, it's okay. But when it comes to clinical research and scientific writing, to be precise, so definitely we should have the engaging capacity, we should have the communication skills along with engaging ability with the each stakeholders. So there is something is required with this field. So is medical writing an emerging career? Absolutely yes. Why? You will get handsome pay. Okay, so this is something that everybody looks for. Okay, so once you complete your master degree or B Pharm or master degree or PhD, so definitely this is our purpose, also purpose to get the handsome pay. Okay, so I will not get into the exact amount, but I can say that you will be getting more compared to production, R&D, or any other field you choose for. So it is one of the emerging career. The second thing is supplementary work to your career. Okay, so if you are a skilled person and if you are looking for part-time opportunities available, so definitely this job may be suitable for you, because most of the companies, not due to the corona, actually corona, there's not something with the corona. Many of these companies are what they are doing, they are just offering the part-time services. So if you're skilled enough, if you have skills required for the scientific writing, and if you're really passionate about the writing, so definitely you can select this field as a part-time, and you can get a very handsome amount. Okay, this is the benefit with this field. And third benefit, I would say, it offers a flexibility to work as per your convenience. As I said, like, many companies have flexible enough to give the work, so definitely you can work from anywhere. Okay, and you can just join there, and you can work from anywhere. Okay, now what are the main players on scientific writing? Okay, main players, I mean, what are the big chunks, big companies who really look for scientific writers, or scientific writing as a broad expansion, right? So Ericsson, Novartis, Eli Lilly, Abbott, Cactus, Sanofi, CBCC Global, TCS, Indigen, and many more. Okay, so these are the companies, they are really expanding their business in clinical research and in scientific and medical writing, to be precise. Okay, so I'm not saying you can limit your potential for the scientific writing, but you can think beyond this. You can just think, beyond the other context of the clinical research. Like as I told you in the previous slide. Okay. So there are different guidelines which govern, which regulate the scientific writing. This is ISAMG guidelines. There's the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. There's JPP3 guidelines, the Consort guidelines, STROBE, PRISMA, PRISMA Fee, COPE guidelines, CARE guidelines, and many more. So ultimately, these guidelines just to help to move into particular directions. And there are also diploma and certified courses as well. Once you are into that particular field, you will get to know the other aspects of this particular field are. Okay. Now, the very critical question: what skills required for the scientific writing? It's very natural question, right? So the first skill is medical understanding. Okay. So for entering into scientific writing piece or medical, medical writing or any other field of clinical research, so you should have understanding, of medical terminology, medical field. Okay. So as I told you that we are a pharmacy students and we read, we study a lot like in terms of ecology or it may be other fields as well. So we have a fair idea, right? So in terms of medical understanding, we are okay enough. Okay. Soft skills. You should be very keen for this one. Soft skills. I am repeating again and again. Soft skills is very critical if you are looking growth for yourself. Okay. Knowledge of regulatory and scientific guidelines. Okay. At this moment, you may not be familiar with this, but once you enter this in this particular field, so you should be, before starting, you should have some fair idea about this. How is the field and how what kind of guidelines are applicable for this particular field before getting into the interview process. Okay. Ability to understand, analyze, interpret, and present scientific data. And it's very critical, very important factor because when you compare our academic findings and clinical research finding, so there's a huge difference in terms of complexity of data, in terms of understanding level. Okay, so the data will be more complex, and you should have the more understanding. Okay, so this ability is very must actually. And as I said, like patient for writing, but in scientific context. Okay. And again, excellent communication skill. Okay. So this is something, these skills are really required if you are looking for, growth or you want to move into that clinical research or medical scientific writing. So these are skills really required for you. And last but not least is grasp on English grammar. It is very critical. Okay, because I came across many tests and communication. So they get rejected because of minor mistakes. There are tiny things like here and there. If you are putting semicolon and colon here, so definitely you can be rejected. Okay, in a single para, if you do mistakes, even a minor mistakes, as I told you, like it may be full stop, a comma, a semicolon, or colon. So you can get rejected. So this is very critical. So purpose of my findings actually. So as I told you, I worked with I have a very huge experience, like more than 7 years of experience in that relevant field, and I got exposure of the multinationals to work with this. So I realized, okay, this is something gap. I can feel it up. Okay, so that's why I just started with my institutes. So I started the first institute, Knowledge Shapers, with a vision to provide a strong foundation to students for the communication skills they really look for. Okay, so what kind of communication skills are required and how they can develop their things on the way. Okay, and this is something. So where I impart trainings for grammar, communication skills, interview skills, and other language aspects, which are very critical, right? As I told you. So the second very effective maths like the clinical orbit. Okay, so it was first of its kind in MP, and I am a co-founder of this institute, Clinical Orbit, and the vision was very simple. So when I just when I was thinking to start something with the clinical research field, so I realized there's a no institute as such in MP. Okay, and that's why that triggered, that triggered to start something right, in this direction, and that's why how the clinical orbit is evolved. Okay, so we started with this with a vision to provide trainings to students for clinical research, scientific writing, pharmacovigilance, and all other aspects. And the methodology that we developed, it's basically we are three professionals with very huge experiences, and we designed our own curriculum. We just kept the practical approach, and we try our best to keep the place for students so that we can we have designed in such a way that we can impart all the content required for their growth, and we can place them in many organizations. So we usually conduct a 2 to 3 days, workshop for scientific writing for their basic understanding. What is it exactly, and what you can look for. So these are, as of now, I have conducted 10 workshops for this particular field. Okay, so this is something very creative that we can look for. So I'm into final direction, actually final slide. So every individual has an unlimited potential. The first thing you need to realize, you need to recognize your capability, you need to identify your potential. So when I completed, and I think Amit sir knows me well, like when I was a very not a intelligent student, I would say. I was really average student. Okay, I was not even in top 5 position, but it doesn't matter. Like I mean to say, it doesn't matter where you start from, but definitely it is something that every individual is different and every is full equipped with the potential. But the important thing is you have to recognize your potential. Okay, so don't stop yourself at any moment, because as I told you, like मुझे कोई idea नहीं था कि where I want to go, what I want to achieve ultimately, even after completing my PhD, right? But destiny comes with you, and they will show some directions. So today's effort, from me on Amit sir, was to just to give an idea. Okay, so this is something. This is a field actually, and these skill sets are required, and this is kind of if you are skilled enough, if you are looking for something, so that definitely that you can go for. So we can guide you. We are always ready to help you. And I know Amit sir, he is very very supportive. He is very very creative and supportive, and so there's no point of that. But we are here ultimately for your support. Okay, so you need any kind of guidance, just let us know, right? So we will be happy to do that, but don't stop yourself. So as I said, many directions and many milestones are awaiting for you. Okay, so don't stop yourself. And this is the final quote. Actually, I like it very much. If you are working on something exciting that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you, from Steve Jobs. So I really like this quote because it is somehow, it is a big support of my life and for my success, whatever I could achieve in my life as of now. So it is something, definitely it is something related to this. Okay, so I would like to thank you to all of you for listening me patiently. So we can open this forum for any, if you have any questions. So definitely you can just ask me, and I would be happy to answer. Sir, I cannot hear you. Amit sir, I cannot. I think you are on mute. Amit sir, I think you are on mute.
There.
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Sir, it is on mute. Sir, it is on mute. Amit sir?
Okay. It
Yes.
is okay. Getting my voice?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting?
Yes, yes, sir. I can hear you.
Nilesh, it was really a very informative session. Definitely students will get something new from this session. As you told that you are not the brilliant student in your class, but मैं तो मानता हूँ कि जो भी इंसान है उसकी सफलता के पीछे उसके प्रयास होते हैं। अगर कोई भी इंसान निरंतर प्रयास करता रहे और एक अपना एम बना के चले तो हर कोई नीलेश जैन बन सकता है, हर कोई अमित जैन बन सकता है, हर कोई भी बड़ा आदमी बन सकता है। लेकिन हमारा एक विजन क्लियर होना चाहिए कि हमें जाना करना है और आपके प्रयास
Sure.
हमेशा, आपके एफर्ट्स हमेशा पॉजिटिव वे की तरफ ही बढ़ने चाहिए, हमें
होना
कभी
चाहिए।
डिस्ट्रेस नहीं होना चाहिए। Okay, so now
Yes.
I will go. I will call Dr. Rupesh Soni for questions, question answer round. Adding him.
Good afternoon, sir. This was very nice session and very much students are liking it and providing the appreciation.
So
You
I
are
think your
having
voice is echoing. Rupesh sir, your voice is echoing. So can we do something?
hello.
Yeah, it is
Sir,
echoing.
Abhi, hello. Sir, is it clear?
Yeah, it is clear now.
Sir, so many students ask some question. First, which are the regulatory bodies those are regulating the scientific writing and clinical research writing inside the India?
So regulatory body in India. So there
Yes,
is a
sir.
no scientific writing is a creative piece of writing. So it is a basically do with the writing part. So when we talk about the clinical research, so for conduct of clinical research, there's a regulatory authorities like the CDSCO. But as such for scientific writing, there's an international, international guidelines. As such, there's no Indian guideline for scientific writing per se. But when we talk about the clinical research, how it will be conducted, how it will get approved, so definitely there is a CDSCO, under the DCGI, Directorate General of India.
Sir, some students ask, is there any specific degree requirement to do scientific writing and this clinical research?
No, there's no requirement. But the benefit with the pharmacy students, as I told you, that we have already, we read a lot with the we read subjects and all this stuff. So definitely, they will have, the subjects will help you to, familiar with the terminology in the clinical research. So anybody can go ahead with this in this field. But there's a additional advantage with the pharmacy students, I would say.
So what is the current scenario and role of Indian system inside this clinical research and scientific writing?
So scientific writing and clinical research both are emerging field, as I explained that how we should look for. In Indian context, when we talk about the clinical, as I showed one slide actually, contract research organization. So according to one estimate, as of now, the many companies have established their campus or their services in America. Okay, but they are now moving to the Asian region. Okay, because of the kind of wages that we deploy and all this stuff. So definitely they are looking. The Asia is the biggest zone of these kind of facilities. So see, there's a very clear picture. Once if the CROs are increasing, the number of employability and the chances of employability will increase. Number of opportunities will be increased. Okay, so definitely it is a very positive signal.
So what are specific skill requirement to enter inside this scientific writing?
Yeah, as I told you, 1 minute, let me show you this one. So I think it will again serve for you. So these are the skills required, like medical understanding, soft skills, and communication skills. As I told you, very very critical. Okay, and you should be able to understand, analyze, and interpret the results because the data you will get for the clinical research will be very very complex. Okay, so you should have the ability, but as a starting point, because you are not into that field, so at the starting point they should work on two things: soft skills and communication skills. Okay, and if you are good with it, so definitely as a fresher you can enter into that field, and in once you enter, so you can develop the further abilities within yourself.
So students are asking how to polish these specific skills to be
uh,
much better inside scientific writing.
so scientific writing skills, I think as of now when we talk about, if you are so this student is from B firm or M firm, may I know?
No, sir. BPharm students.
B Farm
BPharm and
students.
MPharm both.
Okay, both. Okay, it's fine. So see, there will be difference actually. So when we just go one level up, for example, when you compare the understanding of the students for the B form and M form, so definitely in terms of understanding will be different for both of them. Okay. Okay, so my point here is if you are looking for this particular field, scientific writing, so you can assess your ability. First, you can analyze yourself whether you are passionate for writing or not. If you are passionate, then you can check for the writing process. For example, you can look for any scientific publications or any manuscripts or any paper, and how much extent that you can modify or you can give your inputs for this particular publications. So you will get to know that how creative you are. Getting my point? So the first point would be assessment of yourself, and the second one is judgment of yourself. How you can judge. So it is a very simple, starting point. It may be a starting point for to check whether you are fit with this or not. I
And
hope I
for
answered this question.
sir, this is the last question students are asking. How they are able to choose between pharmacy job and scientific writing or clinical research job?
Okay, so scientific writing or clinical research is not do away with the pharmacy. See, as I told you, pharmacy has an additional benefit, and this is the field where we can hit at the moment, because science background student just lack of knowledge, because I just told you the subjects that we study is a much better compared to the science background, right? So there's an additional benefit with the pharmacy. So once you are done with the pharmacy, then you can develop your skills, your passion, or the other skills as I mentioned you, and then definitely you can jump into that. In fact,
Thank you very much,
Novartis,
sir.
in fact, there were many students who had done M.Pharm, fresher M.Pharm, and they got selected in Novartis with very good package. So it's not like that. But I couldn't see many students from the MP region, sir. So that's why I'm just trying to instill that kind of things. Okay, यहाँ पे अच्छी opportunities है and definitely
जरूरत
give
है जरूरत है
बहुत ज़्यादा जरूरत है. If we have the skills, then definitely we can look for. Yes.
Is there any question, Rupesh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nilesh, for your precious time. Definitely, students will benefit. Okay,
Yeah, sir. And thank you so much for being
thank
here.
you once again.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank thank you, Rupesh.
Yeah. Have a nice day, sir. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.